Hello, Phantom fans. My name is Sam Olmstead. His name is Justin Irwin. This is the Dump and Chase podcast. In this episode, we will recap and break down the Phantom's last two regular season games in Muskegon. And we'll look ahead to this weekend as we welcome the NTDP U17s to the Cavelli Center for 3 games in 3 days. So, Justin, we're at the halfway point of the season. The Phantoms are 2 games above 500. They are 5th in the East, trailing Madison for 4th place by only 3 points with 4 games in hand. We have the best goalie in the Eastern Conference. We have the rookie points leader and a defense that has paved the way for the team getting points in 9 of their last 12 games. It's a pretty good time to be a Phantoms fan right now.
Yeah. We've obviously seen worse days. It's about time we've seen some better days. And, all things considered, I like our position. Like you said, the defense is starting to earn us some points. That's a great thing. Something we've been lacking in the past. So, yeah, looking forward to the second half.
So at the top of these shows, we like to bring up all the ways our sponsor, Advanced Podiatry, can help our listeners. One of those ways are their treatment plans for sports injuries. Now, whether you are a 17-year-old blocking an 80-mile-per-hour puck with your ankle, so now you have one large ogre foot, or you are someone in your 40s that snapped your ankle jumping off a stepladder to dunk on an 8-foot basketball hoop, Dr. Carnivus and Dr. Ashdown will put together a comprehensive treatment plan to literally get you back on your feet. So go to advancedpodiatry.com to find a location near you. So, Justin, we are up to the 17th episode this season. We are just cranking these things out now.
Yeah. Pretty much once a week. We've had, 1 week off? Wow.
1 week or 2 weeks off, something of that.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is what happens when you put a little bit of effort into this. I'm liking this. By you, I mean us, not you literally.
Yeah.
Or I did, but either way, moving on. So we've picked up a lot of new listeners this season, which is another great thing. So whether you are listening on YouTube, your favorite podcast app, or on Western Reserve Radio, we thank you for tuning in this week. So I've been wanting to do this for a couple weeks now, but I had to wait until every team in the East played at least 30 games, which didn't happen until Saturday. Now, the charts that I have to keep track of the East are broken up into 15-game blocks. So what I wanted to do is go through the teams and compare their first 15 games to their second 15 games. Now, Team USA is not included in this because although everyone else just combines their stats, I do not. It's 2 different squads. It's 2 different teams. The U18s on the season so far are 8-3-2 after 13 games. The U17s are 1-13-1 after 15 games. So for everyone else, these will be ranked by improvement. So starting with the most improved team in the East this season, Muskegon, their first half, they had a record of 5-7-1-2 for 13 points. In the 15 games after that, 12 wins, 3 losses for 24 points. That was an 11-point improvement. Next up would be Green Bay. Started out 5-9-0-1 for 11 points, went 9-4-2-0 after that for 20 points. That was a +9 improvement. Third on the list, Youngstown. First 15 games of the season, 6-7-0-2, worked out to 14 points. 15 games after that, 8-4-2-1 for 19 points. So they are at a +5. We'll try to shorten this up a little bit going forward here. Dubuque, their first 15 games, 18 points. Their second 15 games, 20 points. So they improved by 2 points. So pretty even first half of the season for them. Same thing with Chicago. First 15 games, 23 points. Their second 15 games, 22 points. So they were a -1, but still fairly consistent throughout the season. Cedar Rapids, their first 15, they put up 16 points. Their second set of 15, they only put up 11, so they were at a -5. And you want to talk about a free fall. The last team on this list, Madison, their first 15 games, they went 10-4-1-0, 21 points. For them coming back from an off season, it was really incredible what they were able to do those first 15 games. They completely fell off the cliff the next 15 games after that. 4 wins, 10 losses, and an overtime loss for only 9 points. They came in at a -12 from the first 15 to the second 15.
Yeah, I think really looking at the numbers, only Green Bay stands out as a surprise. Muskegon, the way they started out, kind of expected them to have a pretty good bounce back, maybe not, an 11-game difference, 11-point difference. We were kind of hoping we would see, marked improvement. Obviously, these numbers reflect that. Dubuque and Chicago, both, fairly stable. Unfortunately, Cedar Rapids not turning things around from the start. I'm not going to say I'm surprised, but, they had an off season too last year. Kind of expect them to have some ups and downs. And Madison, let's face it, we didn't expect them to sustain that all season. It was kind of inevitable.
So real quick, we'll take a look at the standings in the East. We haven't done that in a little while. Of course, although that might be changing here before long, right now, first place in the East is Chicago. After 33 games, they have 46 points. They get the nod for first place over Muskegon, who is in second, who has played 35 games, has 46 points also. Due to Chicago playing 2 less games, they have the better percentage, so they're in first. Third place, Dubuque, after 32 games, 40 points. Madison in fourth, after 35 games, they've put up 36 points. In fifth place is Youngstown. After 31 games, they have 33 points. Who is tied with Green Bay, who is in sixth place. Green Bay has played 32 games, so Youngstown has played 1 less. There's the better percentage, so they're in fifth. In seventh place, Cedar Rapids, 31 games played, 27 points. And Team USA all the way down at the bottom after 28 games combined between the two squads, only 21 points. So with that, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at this past weekend with the Muskegon Lumberjacks. This is the Dump and Chase podcast.
We're trying to model ourselves after what you guys have done a little bit.
Voice of the Phantoms and friend of the show, Mr. Matt Lipsack.
I am along for the ride and perhaps provide some modicum of adult supervision here, although really that's a lost cause at this point.
We welcome back Phantoms president Andrew Goldman. It went smoother than it did with Matt.
I want that added. I want that added.
What are you shaking your head now for?
I'm agreeing with you because he has absolutely killed us this year.
Well, so far, finger guns has meant Sam shut up. So
yeah, that's not helping. I'm trying to process. Okay.
Check out the Dump and Chase podcast every Wednesday on Western Reserve Radio, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Listen, that was frightening.
And we're back. The Phantoms this last weekend took a trip to Muskegon, which was the last time as far as this regular season is concerned. The last 5 games these teams play each other will take place in Youngstown. So how did these games end up? We will start with Friday, which was a 4-3 overtime win for the Phantoms. So as far as the box score is concerned, the first period ended with no score. Muskegon led the shots in this period 13-8. Moving on to the second period, Jack Williams from Muskegon finally broke the scoreless game at the 5:39 mark, his 8th of the season for McCarthy. It always warms my heart to see Jack Williams score a goal when the goaltender is actually in the net to prove that he can in fact do that. Usually when you see Jack Williams scoring a goal, it's empty. So really does my heart good to see him scoring with a goaltender there.
Well, he left that to Quinn Hudson.
Yeah. So yeah, Muskegon takes a 1-0 lead. At 13:09 of the second period, Winter Wallace picked up his 5th of the season from Steven Sartarian and Kyle Bettens. That tied the game at 1. Nice little goal, one-timer from Sardarian, and this was 1 second after the power play they were on expired, so it was that close to being a power play goal. But that goal came just 1 second after a penalty had expired. Phantoms and the Jacks go into the intermission tied at 1. Shots in the period, Muskegon led that as well, 17-5. Going into the third period, at 6:39, Quinn Houston shorthanded his 18th of the season. That was unassisted. Nothing spectacular about this goal or anything we need to mention about it. Just a ho-hum shorthanded goal. I think that's all we need to say. There's nothing you want to add, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, it was a little bit of a mistake on the part of our goalie at that point. Chauvet came out, tried to play it, I guess, to the corner. I don't know. Gave it right to Quinn Houston. I get his name right this time. Houston? Is it Houston? Yeah, Quinn Houston. And just kind of shades of another goaltender by the name of Ivan that we might have seen.
See, what happened is I called somebody from Michigan Tech and they told me it was pronounced Houston, so that's what I'm going with.
Okay, yes.
We're going to be bringing that up here in a little bit. Yeah, so Muskegon takes a 2-1 lead at 7:32. 53 seconds later, Charlie Lurie on the power play picks up his 8th of the season and his first as a Phantom. That goal came from Adam Ingram, and Trey Taylor tied the game at 2. At the 9:45 mark, Ben Strinden, his 15th of the season from Jacob McWaven, gives Muskegon the lead again, 3-2. And then at the 18:06 mark, Winter Wallace again on the power play, his 6th of the season from Steven Sardarian and Kyle Bettens, repeating the goal from the second period, ties the game at 3. This was another little pretty backhand pass below the goal line from Steven Sardarian, giving it to Winter, able to go short side on the goaltender to tie the game at 3. Also, I should mention both of these power plays. These were both 5-on-3 situations. This is something we've complained about in the past that the Phantoms were just not good at. They had 2 5-on-3s in this game. They were able to score on both of them, so nice to see there. Third period ends. The game is tied 3-3. Shots in the period. Youngstown, for the first time in this game, outshot Muskegon 11-8. So going into overtime at the 3:12 mark, Kyle Bettens gets behind the defense on the rush, puts in a very pretty backhand goal, his 9th of the season, from Chase Patilla and Adam Ingram, giving Youngstown the win 4-3. And I will point out real quick, it's not Pietila. It's Patella. Muskegon's broadcaster claimed that he talked to somebody from Michigan Tech, where Chase's, I guess, brothers are there or have gone to. Didn't talk to the brothers, but talked to somebody from Michigan Tech who swore to him that it was pronounced Pietila. So that's what he went with all weekend, even though the Phantoms line chart has it listed as Patella. And I spoke to the person responsible for the pronunciation guide on the Phantoms line chart, and he assured me he actually spoke to Chase and to ask him how his last name was pronounced. So that's what we're going to go with.
Please just stick to the pronunciation guides.
So anyways, back to the game. Shots in the overtime. Youngstown took that 4-3. Total shots in the game goes to Muskegon 42-26. Youngstown on the power play was 2 for 5. And like I pointed out, it was almost 3, but just a second off. Muskegon on the power play 0 for 1. Kyle Chavette stopped 39 of 42 shots in the win. Yeah, it was just one of those games where it was just go down by a goal, come back and tie, go down by a goal, come back and tie. It was just a lot of Youngstown chasing, but the difference we saw in this game compared to games in the past, Muskegon gave the Phantoms opportunities, and this time they took advantage of them.
Yeah, we got a little bit lucky in that regard. A couple of 5-on-3s. As you had mentioned, that has been a problem this year. So it's, really great that we can get some movement there. I think after that second goal, where the goalie kind of gives up one on a mistake like that, I think the team kind of woke up at that point and, decided that they were going to try to at least get 1 point back for them. And then, we got into overtime, and Bettens gets around people, and you forget just how fast and, how strong of a skater he is until he's, roofing one over your goalie.
Yeah. So moving on to the game on Saturday, and this weekend, it was a tale of 2 games. The game on Saturday, this was a 4-0 loss for the Phantoms. Most of this game was sloppy by both teams. Just Muskegon was able to get their act together. Youngstown was not. The first period started out as the game on Friday. No score in the first period. Muskegon outshooting Youngstown 12-5. Going into the second period at the 10:40 mark, Ethan Whitcomb, his 6th of the season from Peluso and Austin, maybe, I don't care, gives Muskegon a 1-0 lead. That was it for scoring in the second period. Shots tilted towards Youngstown 9-8. In the third period, at the 6:01 mark, Ben Strinden, his 16th of the season from Dunbar in Houston, giving Muskegon a 2-0 lead. And it was pretty much after that second goal, that was the point where the wheels really fell off the wagon for Youngstown, because 22 seconds later, Ben Strinden scored again, his 17th of the season from Dunbar, giving Muskegon a 3-0 lead. And then Owen Mellenbacher at the 1936 mark. Muskegon was shorthanded. Youngstown had pulled the goaltender for an extra skater to make it 6-on-4. He hits the empty net anyways. Jack Williams was furious at this. That's his job description as far as this team's concerned. But that was from Dunbar and Strinden, putting Muskegon up 4-0, and that's how the game would end. Shots in the third period, Muskegon again 13-6. Total shots in the game, Muskegon outshooting Youngstown 33-20. Youngstown on the power play 0 for 4. Muskegon on the power play 0 for 3. Kyle Chevette stopped 29 of 32 in the loss. So on the season, his record goes to 11 wins, 6 losses, 1 overtime loss, and 2 shootout losses for a 2.82 goals against average and a .908 save percentage, which as of now is still first place in both of those categories in the Eastern Conference. I hate to say it was such a good game on Friday. A lot of fight from the Phantoms in that game. Saturday, like I said, for most of this game, for up until getting into the second period, both teams were sloppy. Muskegon got it together. Youngstown, I didn't see much effort in this game whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I think both teams, were both games. I think both teams, the first period, or first half of the game, kind of, I don't want to say a feeling out process of each other, kind of trying to feel themselves out. Friday night, both teams responded. Saturday night, only Muskegon. We
had 1 point there. I can't remember if it was later in the second period or early in the third period. Youngstown was only down by a goal. They were on the power play. They end up taking a penalty in the offensive zone, which completely wiped out the power play. So, right there, you have a chance to get one on the power play, get some, tie the game, get some momentum. It just seemed like any time they got any little semblance of anything going in this game, either shooting themselves in the foot or whatever, they just could not get any momentum in this game, and they just kind of slogged through it.
Yeah. Maybe they used up everything they had to pull it out on Friday. Interesting to note, Kyle Bettens scored the overtime winner Friday. He was a scratch Saturday, so, this is just, I guess, how it goes.
Celebrated a little too hard, something involving the Rona, maybe tweaked something in a morning skate. It's hard to say. And it's time for another break. So when we come back, we'll break this all down in 4 points.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
I have the sound up, and I appreciate the guys that do the work now. But it is with great appreciation I see what the guys do, not only the announcers, but also the players. So we've had wonderful playoffs. I mean, single, double, triple overtime games. It's been fantastic.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
And we're back. So for listeners new and old, 4 points is where we break down the previous weekend into 4 categories: what we liked, what we didn't like, favorite moment, and 3 stars of the week. By virtue of comparing the size of our microphones, I will be going first. And you can't show me your microphone right now because it's bolted in. And that's where it'll stay.
Hey, but you've got that big Yeti.
That's right.
Microphone.
That's right. Okay, so as far as what I liked, I mentioned it a little bit ago, having to come back 3 times on Friday to tie the game. Ideally, it's not a situation you want to be in, but it shows that this was a team that did not quit, did not give up in that Friday game, that they had to come back 3 times to tie it, and then get to overtime and get the winner there. And it goes back to, when you compare what went wrong last season, is you didn't see things like that happening last season. When, last year when the Phantoms went down by a goal, that was it. You just kind of saw this the team giving up, and, that was the end of it. As soon as they went down, you knew it was going to be a loss, because that's, it's just the way, the mentality of I wouldn't say the mentality, kind of the mindset of that team was last year, and what a huge difference it is compared to this year.
Yeah. And to go along with that, what I liked, last year when we went down a goal or so, the first thing you saw was discipline breakdown. Friday night.
Yeah, the frustration penalties.
Yeah. Friday night, what I liked, or we only gave them 1 power play. Especially when you're trying to come from behind, not taking dumb penalties is definitely a good thing.
Okay, so what I didn't like, again, I'm going to be kind of sort of repeating myself here, just the complete lack of everything on Saturday. The Phantoms were kind of having a rough go of it that game to begin with. I think losing that power play when they took a penalty, whatever wind they had in their sails, you kind of saw being taken out. like I said, that second goal was scored and then just everything just broke down after that, allowing another goal to be scored 22 seconds later by the exact same player. And, we're seeing it more and more and more of the team coming out and competing all weekend, and that's what you want. That's anybody, that's any scenario. That's what you want to see. Just all in all, when it came to the game on Saturday, the Phantoms showed up to that game not ready to play. And I really don't think there was any point during that game where they had that mentality that they were ready to play. It was just a down game all around.
What I didn't like was a little bit of the power play. We got the 2 5-on-3 goals. That was great. Like you said, we need to take advantage of those chances. Overall, we had 9 power play chances, and other than the 2 5-on-3 power play goals, I think the 5-on-4 power play was flat. We didn't have a lot of direction. There's some new pieces in it. We're working Lori in. There's been some changes. But I think overall, the 5-on-4 has to be better, especially when we're in tight games or, trying to come from behind.
Okay, so my favorite moment of the weekend, I'm giving that to Charlie Lurie, his one-timer power play goal on Friday. With Charlie coming to the team, with the scouting we were able to find on him, they talked about, great skater, good with the puck, a very accurate shot, maybe not a very hard shot. That is not what I saw on that one-timer. I saw an absolute laser come off of his stick, and I believe we saw it a time or two more on Saturday. So whoever did the scouting on him, saying that he didn't have a very hard shot, holy freaking cow, because that puck flew off his stick. Yeah, that had some heat on it. So, if that's the case, that the scouting was wrong and that is the kind of shot he has, that's exactly the type of winger you want on a power play. My
favorite moment, that Kyle Bettens, I just won the overtime celebration. He just did one of those, down on one knee with the fist pump. I don't know, maybe he hurt himself doing that. But, that's just one of those moments, the way things were going, it felt really good to see him be able to celebrate.
And now we've reached that point. It is the Dump and Chase podcast, 3 stars of the week. So starting it off, the 3rd star of the week, that will go to Charlie Lurie. Again, the monster one-timer picking up his first goal as a Phantom on Friday. So a nice little welcome to the team, at the same time help to contribute. So our 2nd star of the game, do you want to take this one or?
Sure. 2nd star of the game, Winter Wallace.
2nd star of the week.
2nd star of the week, Winter Wallace. Friday, he was a monster out there, and in a good way.
Yeah, had the 1 power play goal, was a second away from 2 power play goals, but yeah. And the 1st star of the weekend goes to the overtime game winner on Friday. That is Kyle Bettens. And you watch Kyle play the game, and it's just sometimes he masks it, and you almost forget just how fast he is until he gets the puck on a break coming down the wing. And almost every single time he gets in front of whoever, is trying to get a body on him. We've seen that happen way more often than not. You almost forget just how fast he actually is. But it was the same thing with that overtime goal, just getting ahead of the defense, getting that breakaway one-on-one with the goalie, putting it in and ending the game, giving the Phantoms the 2nd point. So yeah, 1st star this week is going to Kyle Bettens. So with that, we're going to step away for a minute. After the break, we'll look ahead to this weekend and a 3-game visit from Team USA.
Advanced Podiatry has been making happy feet in the Mahoning Valley for 35 years. Our offices are located in Cortland, Champion, Austintown, Columbiana, and Howland. Our Howland office has relocated to 8601 East Market Street in Howland Corners. Advanced Podiatry offers sports medicine and treatment plans for all ages. You can also request an appointment online by visiting our website at advancedpodiatry.com. Advanced Podiatry, where surgery is always a last resort.
And we're back. So this weekend, the Phantoms are back home at the Covelli Center. Team USA, the under-17 squad, will be coming to town for games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. These games will be the 4th, 5th, and 6th meeting of the season. This will be the last time we see the 17s until the very end of the season in April. So far this season, Youngstown is 3-0 against the under-17 squad. They have not trailed against them in the 3 games. They've outscored them 17-6.
And if you want to include the under-18s, we are 4-0, and that includes 3-0 in their barn up in Plymouth.
You love that stat right now, don't you?
I love that stat. You know I do.
That's because you're not going to those games. That's why it's happening.
I went to the first one.
That's the very beginning of the season. That doesn't count. And that was the 17s too. We didn't know then what we know now. But anyway, the last meeting between these two teams, that was on December 30th. That was a 2-1 overtime win for the Phantoms, which accounts for one of their points, which we'll get to in a second, how many points exactly they have. The U17s played 1 game last weekend. That was a 5-2 loss to Madison. U17s, not great on the season. They lost their first 7 USHL games. Then they were somehow managed to beat Green Bay on November 27th, and they've lost their 6 games since. So on the season, the U17s coming into this weekend, again, they play games, again, tournaments and all that other kind of stuff. Just talking about the USHL schedule, the U17s, 1 win, 13 losses, and 1 overtime loss, which works out to a grand total of 3 points. If you want to combine that with the 18 points from the under 18s, that works out to 21 points, putting Team USA 8th in the Eastern Conference. Youngstown coming into this game, 14 wins, 12 losses, 2 overtime losses, and 3 shootout losses. That is 33 points and good for 5th in the Eastern Conference. The U17s on the season, they are putting up 2.33 goals per game. They are giving up 5.4 goals per game. And this is just unbelievable. A negative 46 goal differential after 15 games. So on average, they're losing games by an average of 3 goals.
Yeah. I don't have the breakdown in stats, as you pointed out, so it's everybody combines them. Combined, the Team USA is the second lowest goals for in the Eastern Conference. There's not a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference that have goals for under, 100 on the season. You've got 2 of those teams. You've got the only team in the East that has a goals against under 100 goals. That's us. Another one of those stats that's really kind of incredible. Team USA is giving up the most goals in the East, and that's combined with the under 18s. Kind of you might expect this in the West.
Oh, there you go. We get to bring this up. Our friends over at Thunderstruck, the unofficial Lincoln Stars podcast, BA and Gene, they've brought up on their show a couple of times now where and we talked about when we had them on the show, where the Western Conference, you're seeing more of, lower scoring and better goaltending compared to the Eastern Conference, where you have better scoring and not as great goaltending. Yeah, and they're they're out in the West, so they're of the opinion that it's more of a matter of their goaltending is better than our scoring. The only thing I would say to that is, honestly, I don't think you can quantify that just on the basis that the East and the West aren't playing. And to that, I would say, what happens when you have a scenario when somebody like Muskegon or Chicago or the under 18s, plays Tri-City, who, has a goaltender that gives up like 1 goal every other weekend. Versus teams that average 4 or 5 goals a game. What's going to happen, if you put those two against each other, and that's something we don't know because it doesn't happen during the season. Other than maybe like Dubuque or Cedar Rapids every now and then, playing a Western Conference team is just kind of a one-off during the weekend. To me, I don't know if you can compare right now just because we don't know because they're not playing each other.
Yeah, it's the state of things, at least at the moment. I'll even up, when the league was more normal, and there was interconference travel, most teams you only saw once or twice a season anyway. It was still kind of hard to judge from that, but we digress.
So anyways, back to what we were talking about. And flipping around the words of BA on his show last week, that's the West. We're here to talk about the East.
Specifically Team USA, the under 17s, which I think The only thing anybody needs to know is they haven't quite gotten it together yet this year, and we're really kind of hoping this weekend that they don't figure it out.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said before, all that, coming into this weekend after 15 games, Team USA with a negative 46 goal differential. Youngstown coming into this weekend, averaging 3.06 goals per game, giving up 3.16 goals per game. That works out for them right now with a negative 3 goal differential. The U17's on the power play, 16%. If they were their own squad, that would be last in the Eastern Conference, but not last in the league. The Sioux Falls Stampede out west, their power play percentage comes in at 8.5%.
And they're past the halfway point.
I didn't know power play percentages went down that low. Holy hell.
Yeah.
Wow. And their penalty kill, 75.5%, which again, if they were their own squad, that would be 5th in the East. But actually, Team USA combined is 5th in the East in penalty kill. Youngstown, their power play, 22%. That is good for 4th in the East. Their penalty kill, 72.8%. They were able to hop Muskegon and move up out of the cellar as far as worst penalty kill in the Eastern Conference. So they bumped back up to 7th place.
Which I believe somebody kept pointing out that, Muskegon was only 2nd worst, the penalty kill in the East. Well, welcome to Monday.
Back to... Yeah, they were last, and then Youngstown jumped them for 1 week, and then Youngstown picks up 2 power play goals on the weekend. They do not, so we flip-flop back around.
Let's just say both need to improve.
Yeah. It's you're comparing not good and not good. It's just who's an 8th and who's not.
Slivers.
So as far as these games this weekend, again, returning to the Covelli Center, Friday the 28th, this game will be a 7:05 puck drop. The game on Saturday, the 29th, also a 7:05 puck drop. This is Pittsburgh Penguins night. Penguins mascot Iceberg will be in attendance. Hopefully he'll have that shoebox size Stanley Cup ring that he likes to wear around. That's always fun to get a picture with. Also, for the game on Saturday, $2 beer night. That'll be good until the halfway point of the second period. And then the game on Sunday, the 30th, will start a little bit earlier. That is a 4:05 start time. All of these games will be broadcast on Hockey TV and will be streamed locally on Western Reserve Radio. Very good friends of ours. So for tickets to any of these games or all 3 of these games, make a weekend out of it. You can call the Phantoms box office for tickets at 330-747-PUCK or 330-747-7825. So with that, we're going to take our last break. We'll preview next week's episode on the other side and close up shop for this week. And that will be it for this week. Now, we will be back next week, hopefully talking about a 3-game winning streak, and we'll preview a weekend trip to Wisconsin for 2 games with the Madison Capitals. And since the Phantoms are back at the Covelli Center, next week's show will feature post-game comments from Coach Patterson and a player interview. And again, we want to thank our sponsor, Advanced Podiatry. For office locations and appointment information, visit advancedpodiatry.com. So as always, the Dump and Chase podcast is brought to you by hockeyfan.com. Also be sure to check out our syndication partner at ohiohockeydigest.com. Now these days, there are no shortage of ways to find this show. You can listen every Wednesday at 5:06 p.m. on Western Reserve Radio, either on westernreserveradio.com, the TuneIn or Live 365 apps, the Western Reserve Radio Facebook and Twitter accounts, and the Phantoms Facebook page. And speaking of Western Reserve, I wanted to give a quick plug to By All Means, which is hosted by Mark Means every Tuesday at 5:06. Last week, he had former Phantoms broadcaster Wes Euler on the show. In the past, he's had Everett Fitzhugh on there. He's had the great and incomparable Doc Emmerich on there. He's done some really great interviews on that show. And with all that, you can also find us on YouTube and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. New episodes out every Wednesday. So make sure to follow us on social media for Phantoms updates and stats. You can find Justin on Facebook at facebook.com/YT Hockey Fan. That's PHAN. And on Twitter at YT Hockey Fan. Again, PHAN. Now, I am on Facebook, but that's my personal page, and I don't do a lot with hockey other than posting episode links for friends and family. But you can find me on Twitter. That would be at @dump_chasepod. But easily enough, all of these links can be found on our Linktree page, which can be found in the description of however you are listening to this show. So we want to thank everyone for listening in, and come say hi to us this weekend at the bottom of section 222. We don't bite, but Justin has been known to nibble.
Most people say my biggest issue is the drooling.
Well, the fact that you stopped the belly rubbing while drooling, that did help a little bit. So
yeah.
Those were awkward times. Come up and say hi to Justin. He just reach out and start rubbing your belly. We got him to stop doing that. The drooling we're still working on.
That went off the rails quick.
Yeah, that. So for Justin Irwin, I'm Sam Olmstead, and we will talk with you all again next week. Bye now.